Welcome to Chosen to be Empowered TV. I am Deneen Joyner, your ancestral trauma expert. And today I am doing a soul reading for someone who has been near and dear to my heart for quite a while. We actually started out um, as a makeup artist doing my makeup. Erica actually started out as my makeup artist some years ago. I'm not even going to date myself. Actually doing my makeup, and we just became inseparable, to be perfectly honest. And so that was the beginning of our relationship, and we've just maintained contact, even though now we are in different cities and we have other things going on in our lives. Um, it's really just been really, really lovely just to stay in touch with somebody who is just good. Okay. So I am going to allow Erica to just kind of bring you up to speed just a little bit about where they are in this journey called life and why they wanted to get a soul reading in the first place. And then we're gonna dive into this soul reading. And I have to tell you that the soul reading that Erica is getting is my top tier soul reading. So when you go to my website, you're going to see three ways that you can have a soul reading. One is the first one, which is an hour reading. And then there's a middle one that gives you 2 hours. And then there's one that's much longer, which is the one that Erica is getting today. And it comes with other sessions to it. So you can decide just based on the description which one feels right for you. But I just wanted to just kind of clue you in that this is quite different. This is the, as I call, creme de la creme of soul readings. Okay. So without further ado, I'm gonna just ask Erica to just kind of tell us about who you are, what you've been up to, um, and anything you feel is relevant to this reading before we actually dive in.
Yes, I am Erica Hargroves. I am 32 years old. I'm born and raised in Baltimore City, um, but I've lived all over in Pittsburgh, in the Georgia area. I grew up primarily on my dad's side of the family. So my dad was responsible for raising me, and it's a big part of who I am today.
Mhm.
My mother, sorry, my biological mother suffered from the um, disease of drug addiction.
Mhm.
So she wasn't very present in my life. But growing up, I would always ask, like, oh, like, where is she? Is she
Mhm.
okay? Like, what's her favorite color? What food does
Mhm.
she like? All those things that those questions that kids have.
Right.
Um, Going into 32, I wanted to go into the next chapter of my life, just being who I felt um, I should be, who I've always identified as.
Mhm.
Um, But the first time I started the process, I was kind of all over the place, and I felt like I really didn't have the support system
Mhm.
um, that I needed. And going into this journey of being a transgendered woman or female or transgender person,
Mhm.
um, there are a lot of things that I am starting to experience, like, going shopping for underwear or going shopping for like a bra and not having the motherly support around me
Mhm.
is hard. And I've
Mhm.
always felt like because the relationship that me and my mom had, wasn't as strong or was non-present. So there's just a lot that I don't know about that side of the family.
Mhm.
And so I'm eager to have this soul session, not only to learn more about my mother's side of the family, but also just to put the pieces of the puzzle together for me, because I think the biggest thing or hurdle as a person that identifies as trans, as there's a spiritual way to to explain things, and there's a scientific way to
Yeah.
explain things, and so you're always
Yes.
trying to figure out like, is this a right decision for me?
Yes.
How is God gonna perceive me? And so here I am just looking to get answers.
Yeah. Wow. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you so much for that introduction. And you've said so much that is really, really at the end of the day, uh, things that people need to be mindful of. What really struck me the most about what you just said was that as you are journeying through your transgender journey, that you don't have someone feminine like a mother figure who could guide you and give you input about something that I and most women would take for granted, like shopping for a bra.
Yeah.
Um, but the other thing, and not because you are going through this transgender journey, is that there are actually young women and women who are in similar circumstances as yourself because they too did not have a mother. Okay. And so I'm pointing this out because I think it's very important for women to understand that you too would be struggling. If you think back to possibly, your first encounter with going to shop for, intimate apparel, you more than likely feel like Erica just expressed, like, I don't even know what size I am. I don't
Mhm.
even
Yeah.
I don't even know, how to hook it on.
Yeah.
I don't know what I like. I don't know um what details I should or shouldn't wear under t-shirts and things so that it's not ruffled. Um, so you raise, oh my goodness, you raise, you know, just good conversation and awareness around that. And then of course, because this is where you're at, you are trying to, literally uh, traverse this journey you're on, on many levels. It's not just about you um, on this transgender journey, but you're on a healing journey as well. So your journey has many layers to it, um, as would other people as well. Everybody is dealing with different things.
Something. Yeah.
Um, so I'm so happy that you shared that for consideration. And so we'll be doing this. You and I'll just be. It's a conversation, but it's a conversation about you. It's a conversation about um, your mom, the mom that you longed for, that you so eloquently put into words. You missed her. You wanted to know, where is she and is she okay? I mean, even just that. I mean, I'm just like mush. Just you longing for hers is, for most people, you could definitely understand why a child would long for their mother who's not there. But then when you say, I wondered if she was okay, that just, you know, that just takes it to a whole different level of wonder and concern. Um, and not only that, but what that does to a child when they don't know. Is mom okay? They don't know where mom is.
Yeah.
And so let me ask you this. We haven't even gotten into the reading yet, but let me ask you this. Did you know? Did anybody sit you down and say, "Mom is not here"? Did they give you a backstory, so to speak, like mom is ill, she's not here because she's ill? Was that given
Um,
to you?
yeah, so I remember growing up, I started off staying with my biological mom. So I was
Okay.
staying with her. And then on Fridays, my dad would come and get me. And I
Okay.
would be, I would have dirty clothes on, I hadn't taken a bath. So as soon as I would get to his house, he would, take all my clothes off, throw all my
Yes.
clothes away, put me in the shower. And then at around maybe 4 or 5, my mother, from my knowledge, felt like she couldn't take care of me anymore. And so
Okay.
she wrote a letter to my dad, and she dropped me off.
Okay. And what
Um,
okay, so you have been with your mom as far as you know from birth till like 3 years old or 4?
Correct. I would say to
Okay.
about 3 to 4 years old.
Okay.
And then around 4 is when she gave my dad full
Yes.
custody.
Okay. Okay. All right. And so did you and it's so hard. There I have to ask this question. For some people, they might be like, "Why is she asking him? Does he remember? He was only 3." Believe it or not, there are some of my students who can recall.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, see, I don't. I don't have memory.
Mhm,
I have lapses because of my trauma, so I don't recall things. But okay, so you do recall being with
mhm.
her. Do you recall the relationship that you had? Was it a close one? Was it a hands off kind of you're here, but I'm not with you type of?
Um, so I'm going to be full transparent. So growing up, the house that my mom had, um, it was a drug house.
Okay.
So it was a lot of people coming in and out, doing drugs, buying drugs, selling drugs. And so remember very early on just me sitting like on the bed, like by myself. So in those very early stages, I knew that I lived with my mom, but
Yes.
I never like saw her.
Okay. Okay.
And so I have no pictures of me and my mom together,
Mhm.
not until I was probably 12 years old.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
And do you still
like I
have those pictures?
no.
Okay, you don't have them. Okay. Okay.
So I know
Oh,
she was. I mean, like I said, I don't. But and then after that, I probably saw my mother maybe 4 or 5 times in my whole life up until she passed away.
okay. Okay. And what age were you when she passed?
Oh gosh, I want to say I was probably like 25 or 26.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. That gives us more depth, of your story. Um, and not only that, but it's going to actually connect the dots as I start to tell you about what came through.
Okay.
Okay. So I just want for our audience to know that um, Erica actually asked me to focus in on her mother for purposes of this reading because of what was just expressed. Um, there wasn't a wealth of understanding of who um, his mom was um, and or uh, emotionally really just didn't have a clear picture of who she was. And so the reading is going to provide that. It's going to literally allow you to feel who she was and what she was going through. Um, She did come through for you, which was beautiful. Um, and so I'm just going to refer to her as Miss Ellen because that was her first name. So Miss Ellen did come through. Um, she is witnessing your life. She's witnessing you for sure. Um, you all have a lot of things in common, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Um, but this is what she said about you. This is what she told me about who you are, and then I want you to let me know if this sounds true, if this is you. Okay. So she says, first of all, she said that you have this, um, and let me just say, your mom is a hoot. Okay,
Yeah.
she's a hoot. She's very her personality is just fun. It's fun loving. She doesn't take herself serious, like some people could be stuck up and just like you're like, ew. Um, she's very warm and inviting. She was funny. Let me just say this really quick. In spirit world, uh, the ancestors know who I am. They know my role here.
Mhm.
So, and they know that I'm working on behalf of descendants, their descendants, whoever it is I'm reading for. So when I call them in, which is a part of my process through meditation, I let them know which descendant I'm working with, even though they already know, but I just formally tell them who I'm working with. And in this instance, I called in your mom. Didn't know if she was going to come. Usually they do, but sometimes they don't. And when they don't, um, they'll send another representative of the family and another ancestor. Okay. But in this case, your mom came and I instantly felt her personality. So I don't see them, I only hear them and they let me feel their personality so that I can describe who they are to the person I'm reading for. Okay. And which is beautiful because in your case, you don't really fully know who she was. You didn't really get in deep, um, uh, what do I want to say, a deep experience of who she was. So I'm going to be providing that to you. But she's funny. She has like a quick wit. She instantly was like, "You mean you can hear me?" She thought we went back and forth about that for a while. She just thought that was the best thing. She just thought it was so fun that I could hear her. So she laughed about that. That tickled her for a while. And then she got serious and started to tell me, describe who you are to her and how you feel to her. She says that you have this regal, and I have to agree with her. You have this very regal demeanor, and she says you get it from her. Of course, right? Uh-huh, uh-huh. She says you have this, and I get what she's saying, but it's not a conceited type of regal. But it's like you know your wealth, you know your worth. You're like you have expectations, high expectations. Um, you want a good life, you live a good life, you like nice things. So I get what she's saying about that regal about you. I would say for sure. She says very regal demeanor. She says you're confident. She says in who you are concerning that. She said very self assured. She said that top of the line integrity. Like not only do you give it, but you demand it back. Like you don't like shady.
Mm-mm.
You don't like shady, personally or professionally. Definitely professionally. Like service needs to be high.
Definitely.
Okay. Service needs to be, and you give high customer service and you deserve it. You demand it. Um, she said that you're fair. You're a very fair person. Um, and you expect it back. You expect people to be fair to you. You're not asking for anything above what you deserve, but it better be fair. And you're fair. She says you're independent, very
Mhm.
independent. She said you're self determined. self-motivated, self-empowered. And I get why you are, but some people wouldn't be. Okay. So you need to, okay, for sure, pat yourself on the back for that. Um, she says you're able to think practically, but at the same time, you can think outside the box. So it's like multi-dimensional thinking, which is like a gift because most people are just one or the other.
Okay.
But she says you're able to like switch and be practical with your thinking about things, but you're also able to, when it demands, you're able to be creative and just like think outside the box. Very innovative, she says. She says um, that you're very creative. Don't I know that? You're very creative. She said that you're bold with your creativity. She says that you really like colorful things, very deep, colorful things. You're very expressive. That's the way you express yourself is through colors, bold colors, the things that you are attracted to is creative. She also said that you love being alone. She said that you love being alone. Um, I'll stop there because you made a face. Was that true or not?
No, that's true.
Oh, okay. Okay. So let me stop there because I just wrote down the laundry list here of what she's saying. How does that feel? Does that ring true?
It does. I've I know those things about myself, and I've heard people say them about me, but to hear that coming um, from her added a different level
Mhm.
of emotions to it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So she's witnessing you. She's been witnessing your life. She's very proud. She's very proud of who you are, and despite her not being in your life, she knows that. She knows that. We'll get to that later. But she knows that um, the impact that she has had on your life and not being there. And so, but she also sees your that determination, your self-determination that you were so like hell bent on being everything that you can be despite it all. Um, and there are some people, I don't have to tell you this, that know that have experienced a vacancy from either both or one parent emotionally. And because of that, they think that's their past not to do anything in their life. They think it's their past to stay stuck and unhealed. Um, and what she has shared with me about you is that that is not you. That is not your case. That you have literally used what you didn't get from your parents as the catalyst to saying, but look at me,
Mhm.
because, um, and not using it as the crutch to be unhealed, to resolve to a pity party for yourself
Mhm.
for saying, um, I don't want to heal my life because I don't want to, or I don't have the strength, or I don't have the courage. I don't have, I mean, if anybody could use an excuse not to heal, not to be self aware, not to be motivated to heal, it could be you, just based off of what you just shared in the introduction.
Yeah.
So I want you to um, celebrate yourself. I want you to know that this is not normal for somebody to have gone through what you have gone through, but you have consciously chose to live differently, that you are aware that you need to heal and that you want to heal, not just need, but that you desire and want better. So I applaud you for that. And I want you to be able to celebrate that for sure. She also said, let's see here. She said, you're loving and kind for sure. I can attest to that. Um, let me see here. Then there was some mention, and you let me know what this, if this feels right, if this is true or not. She said, because I don't know this about you for sure. Not that I knew even when she shared with me, but I was like, yes, for sure,
Mhm.
that feels right. Um, she says that, and this is where I'm kind of like not clear or not, but you can tell me what it means to you. Do you struggle with either being harsh and judgmental of yourself, harsh and judgmental of other people, or a little bit of both?
Oh gosh, I would say harsh and judgmental of myself.
Okay, okay. Because that's what came through. She said judgmental, and didn't say anything else. And I'm like, can you tell me a little more about this judgmental? Like, because usually when that comes through, it means either both, like you're harsh and judgmental on yourself, and then you also, you know, express that um, and have that with other people,
Mhm.
or sometimes it's just you.
Yeah, I'm definitely
Um,
very harsh and judgmental on myself. I think that mm, growing up, I was always seeking for attention.
mhm, mhm,
And so I felt like I had to have the best grades in school. I wanted to be like how people say, like, I want to be the best parent. I had
mhm.
wanted to be like the perfect child
Yes.
because I thought like me being more perfect or me
Mhm.
being more together would make people love me more.
Yes. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. That makes sense for sure. Um, so, excuse me. I want to ask you some more, just so I can have more clarity, so that when we go deeper, which we're about to do in a minute, that I can really help and support you to understand things um, better. I just need to ask you more questions about when you moved in with your dad, what that looked like, what that felt like. What did you tell yourself the reason why you left mom?
Um, it was kind of, from what I can remember, I used to go over my dad's house on like Fridays. So every
Mhm.
Friday, my dad would come pick me up and we would go back to his house with his family. Um, this particular time, I just went over there and never saw my
Went back.
mom. And there really like wasn't a conversation. I don't know whether my dad thought I wouldn't understand it or I couldn't explain it. And so from maybe 4 years, 3 to 4 to 8, it was just she had like disappeared, and there'll be times where she would say she was coming to see me, and I would get excited, and then she wouldn't show up. But moving into my into my dad's house, um, I just felt unsafe
Mhm.
and more so like I was abandoned,
Okay.
even though my dad was there and my other siblings and my stepmom. I felt like a stepchild, even though I wasn't.
Right, right. Sure. That makes sense. That makes sense. Does that make sense to you as you say
Mhm.
that? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Because you felt displaced. It didn't matter the circumstances where you were living with your mom. You were with mom. Okay. That was your home.
Mhm.
So when your dad came and got you, even though you were visiting him on a regular basis, that's not the same as living there full time
living there.
because you knew that at some point you were going back with mom.
Mhm.
So when that didn't happen, when it became full time and nobody explained anything, nobody sat you down and told you why you weren't going back, then what happens to children is that they make up their own story. They want it just like anybody. They want it to make sense. It needs to make sense to me why I'm not returning back to the house, why I'm not seeing mom anymore. I don't know why. Nobody has told me. So I'm going to make something up so that I can protect my heart and I can try to be here with my family, even though they don't feel like my family. So, do you recall, did you have a story that you told yourself or not?
Not a story that I told myself, but I would tell stories to my classmates or to my friends. And my mom had lived overseas,
Okay.
and that she would come visit me. So when we would have like events and stuff at school, and my dad would show up, and you were like, "Oh, like, where's your mom? Where's your mom?" So I was like, "Oh, she's overseas. She's living overseas. She'll be back soon." So that
Mhm.
was kind of the story that I told people until I was probably
Yeah.
about like 10 or 12 years old.
Mhm. 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 Yeah. And so that's what I'm talking about. The cover story. That cover story becomes your cover story, even though maybe you weren't personally buying into it. But it, on some levels, it comforted you by saying, "My mom's not here because she's overseas." That kind of helped you get through. Okay. So just so you know that you raised another important uh, element of your story, which was that you said you told your friends at this
Mm.
school that your mom wasn't there, and I'm thinking, what about the friends you had before you came? What about the friends in the neighborhood where you left? You didn't get a chance to say goodbye to them. You just disappeared.
Yeah. And I also, on my mom's side of the family, I have 10 other siblings.
Oh my goodness.
So it was a completely
Wow.
going going from seeing them every day and to
Not
remembering
seeing them.
then and then just
Oh my goodness.
yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gee. Now, what about today? Are you connected to them at all?
Some of them I'm connected to through like social media.
Mhm, mhm.
But I think there's a lot of um I don't want to say bad blood between us, but a lot of a misunderstanding
Sure,
because
sure.
because they feel that I got rescued and
Okay,
that
isn't it something?
I was afforded this fabulous life and that they stayed with our mom and was had to go through
Yeah.
foster care and all that stuff. And so they kind of
Yes.
feel like for me I had the
Mhm.
better part of life. And so it's been hard to connect because I think the last time from kids that we saw each other is once when I was about 10, and then I didn't see them again and until my mom had passed away.
Wow.
So as at the funeral was like the first time us like seeing each
Mm,
other and people were like, oh my gosh, like I remember when I used to like hold you and carry you around and now you're
mm,
like this
mm,
four
mm.
um grown person. It's like we don't
Right.
even though we are siblings by blood, it's like we don't really know
Yeah,
each other.
sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's understandable. Um, and it's also understandable that that is how they would perceive you. I think it's very interesting that they saw you being rescued. when you didn't see it that way. You saw it as literally being plucked out of your home and sent somewhere you didn't agree to live.
Mhm.
Yes, that was your father. That was your father. And you were blessed for him to be able to come and get you and you live with him. However, they don't know your story with that. You wanted to stay.
Mhm.
So if you wanted to stay somewhere and somebody came and literally removed you, I mean, even though that was a good thing, he removed you, right? Um, because of your mom's letter,
Mhm.
still in your heart, in your soul, you wanted to stay. And then nobody provided you any commentary about why.
No.
So you literally were just basically left on your own to figure out
Oh,
what happened.
basically, yeah.
Okay. That's amazing. And that happens a lot. That happens a lot with, families who are broken up. And, because of my background in social work and working directly with children and families in trauma, I've heard this story before where one person is sent to live with the other parent and the other siblings are immediately going to foster care.
Mhm.
And that foster care system, I tell you, is
It's horrible.
it's a challenge. It's something that I pray and wish that no child had to endure foster care. Um, and nothing against foster families. There are some foster families who are um, committed and dedicated to caring for children's well-being, but most of them are not.
Mhm.
And so I understand um, the plight of a child being in foster care um, until they age out, and just having the heartbreak and the misunderstanding of not being wanted or cared for, and possibly watching a sibling um, who received different treatment, and them thinking that this sibling is lucky, is fortunate,
Mhm.
when really they don't know what you dealt with.
Mhm.
So I get that. Something else that came up was around restoration. You needing to really at this point, and this is going to be a part of your healing journey, um, of you literally starting to restore your heart and soul because of everything that you have endured, emotionally painful and traumatic. Um, because what happens, Erica, when you go through what you just described, which is traumatic, um, you little by little start to um, numb your heart. So there's a disconnect because you don't want to be hurt again. Um, and that could be a conscious or unconscious choice that you made, but nonetheless, it has happened. And so what your mom is saying was that um, she would like to see you start to restore your heart, um, because what also has been impacted, not only just your ability to love fully and completely and to receive love and to trust love, is that she sees that on some levels your intuition has been altered, which means that on some levels you don't necessarily trust yourself.
Mhm.
Um, and that intuition is really, really key to how we navigate our life. It alerts us to things that are possibly um, uh, dangerous, or it also just lets us know um, if we're on the right track with our path. So I'm going to stop there because, again, I've said a lot to you. Um, we already talked about the judgment part that she brought up, but more so, I wanted to get your insight into what she's saying about your heart and your soul being in need of restoration, and also how are you seeing yourself with your intuition?
Oh gosh. As far as rest, the restoration part of it, 2 years ago, I had a really life changing experience where I was had to go into a psychiatric hospital and get treatment for my mental health.
Hmm.
And during that process of my life beginning to, for lack of better words, fall apart, and me having to go into treatment, I lost everything in the sense that I thought was near
Hmm.
um, to me, my relationship, um, friends that I had for
Hmm.
years,
Hmm.
um, the support of family members, um, and I had to come back to Baltimore and put myself back together financially, mentally, from a emotional, a spiritual um, aspect. I was in a deep depression for about 2 years,
Hmm.
and I'm still coming out of that depression
True.
day by
True.
day. And so I'm in a place where, you know, what I had imagined how life would look for me doesn't look like that
Hmm.
anymore.
Yeah.
And so I'm coming to terms with, like I said, the next chapter of my life. As far as my um, the intuition part of it, growing up, I always had good, really good intuition. But when I would speak on it and um, express it, it was seen as the demonic thing, or I
Mm.
was bad, or I was hearing things, or I was saying things that kind of weren't true.
Mhm.
And so I turned that part of me, I just turned off because I thought it was bad.
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, and it has, because I turned that part off, I know for sure that I've put myself in very dangerous situations because I thought, oh, like someone in my head is telling me I shouldn't do this or I shouldn't go. But that's, you know, not true. It's a
Mhm.
voice, it's demonic. Don't pay attention to it. And so I've allowed a lot of um, people to take advantage of me,
Yes.
and on so many different levels. And so now I am in a place of rebuilding my intuition,
Yes.
trying to um, trying to trust myself again, and to trying to trust other people, but in a way of trusting them not through the eyes of my own trauma.
Okay. Yes, that makes sense.
So it's like I am in I think, like I said, even at 32, this is not where I had imagined,
Sure. Sure.
my life to be. And
Mhm.
I'm coming to terms with that wasn't God's plan for my life.
Right. Yes.
And so it's, it's hard.
Yes, it is. It is hard. But I have to say, just having glimpses of engagement with you, we've never had a heart to heart like we're having today. And so, just as we live our lives with people that we know, you get glimpses of them, and most of the glimpses are good glimpses,
Mhm.
right? Um, Maybe even glamorous glimpses. So you don't really know what the person has been through, okay? Because they're not living that in your eyes. You don't know that they're not living it. They're not showing that. So therefore, why would you think that
Yeah,
that they've been through anything traumatic? Because that's not what they're showing you, right?
absolutely.
So I'm saying that to say, had I not done this reading with you and literally got um, up close and personal with your soul and with your mom, I would have never ever known any of this about you. And for me, knowing your backstory, knowing all of this now, and what will be revealed to you, I just have such a tremendous amount of respect for you. I already had it because of what you showed me, but as I said, that was the glimpses of who you were and how you showed up as your mom said in all your regalness. But now knowing that, what it took for you to even show up, I have to acknowledge that in you, that from this day forward, like I'm in awe of you. I really am. I'm in awe. And I'm trying to hold back the tears because most people don't know this about me. My audience will come to know that I have not um, managed the art of crying and talking
At the same
at the
time.
same time. So if somebody could give me a lesson, I am open for a lesson, but I cannot. If I start to cry, everything is on pause for a minute. I have to collect, then I
Back
can
together.
come back, but I cannot do both. So I'm going to try to just soldier it up and just, yeah, and just, okay. So I had to say that. Okay. So mom's been pretty on point here, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the last piece of this was just she was talking more about your feelings. You wanting her wanting you to work on your feelings and opening up and unpacking that. Um, Being able to really express how you feel.
Mhm.
Honestly, just being able to do that. And because she says your feelings have taken a back seat most of your life. Uh, she also says that she wants to see you get back, if it ever was there, to a place of knowing and believing that what you have to say matters. Because she said for most of your life that wasn't the case. That you stifled yourself, you stifled how you felt, you stifled expressing,
Yeah.
even adding, any commentary about you just kind of shut that off as well. And she would like for you to be able to get back to being open with yourself and really knowing and realizing that what you have to say does matter. Not only to you, but to other people. Like people want to hear from you. They want to know what's on your heart and soul. And when people see this, they're going to be drawn to you because they're like, oh my God, like your story is magnetic. I mean, there's so many layers to it, and you being so transparent and open with us about who you are, and what you've been through. Um, People are going to want to know. They're going to want to know what Erica is up to. How do you see this? Because of that, that's what people want. They don't want the Instagram fake.
Yeah.
And I don't care what anybody says about wanting to see the glam and the glitz and the fakeness. Or people want real because that's what we're all going through. We're going through a real journey, and we want answers, and we want to learn from each other. And it doesn't matter who you are. They want to learn. If you have something real to say, this can help somebody. There, people want to know.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to leave this up to you because we can go either two ways here. I can tell you about mom, who mom was, and introduce you to her, or I can continue telling you more about you.
Oh gosh, that's a hard one.
Either way, you're going to hear the whole thing, but I'm just leaving that
I
up
would
to you.
say we can stay on me for now.
Okay, okay, all right. Okay, so this is what came through with regards to um, some of the wounds that you're dealing with as a result of what you just described, as far as your childhood and the traumas. Excuse me, some of the traumas that you have experienced. These are soul wounds. Okay, so the soul wounds are the impact of whatever we endured as children, and we never got healed. We never had a chance to express. We never acknowledged it to ourselves because the opportunity never presented itself, and nobody actually reached out and said, "Hey, Erica, you've experienced X, Y, and Z, and because of that, I want to be able to help you unpack it." So, because that wasn't there, you developed wounds. And these are just a few of the wounds, not to say that you don't have more. These are the ones that came through that your mom shared. Okay. She says that we talked about a little bit about your self esteem, um, which, of course, it's understandable that you would struggle when you've been shown since childhood. Um, and forgive my candidness, I'm just basically the messenger here, but you've been shown that on different levels, and your interpretation as a child would be that nobody values me. I'm not valuable. I'm not worthy of love and protection and care. I'm not, nobody cares. So when that happens, and that's the message that not only that is shown to you, but that you internalize and you've experienced it over and over. It wasn't just a one time, it was a lot that kind of solidified that for you. And not only just a little bit, but a lot, and from significant people in your life. So it would for me beg the reason that you would struggle on some levels with self-esteem. But your mom is saying that you need to remind yourself, she wants you to get to a place of really, really knowing and recognizing how special you truly are. Because you are. And I know that to be true as well. She says that you have unique gifts and abilities that only you can offer the world. And she wants to see you to be able to do that. She said, for you to stop playing it safe. Now, I don't know what that means, but she says, stop playing it safe. And she says, to tell you, what did you love when you were a child? Like, what did you love? What made your heart sing? What, how did you express yourself creatively when you were little? And she's saying to kind of explore that because that's going to open some doors for you. You know, she's saying that you're playing it safe. When she says that, what does that ring true? Do you feel like you're playing it safe?
It yes. I growing up, I was very into dressing up. Um, and I would take my sheets and make dresses and things of that nature. So I had originally had went to school for fashion design.
I can see
Um,
that.
but I just never felt as confident in myself where I never felt like I really had the support system
Yeah.
to launch it off the ground, or that people just expected me to do it by myself. And so I think that segued to me working doing makeup and then and working in retail.
Yeah.
But I know that retail isn't my true
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-mm.
calling, but it's
Right.
just it's the safest
Yeah.
place for me,
Sure.
or the place that I
Sure.
feel most safe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So mom is right.
Yeah,
Mom
that's
is right. So just giving you some homework. I want you to give yourself permission um, to tell yourself that that is where your heart lies. That you love fashion, you love creating. That when you were little, that is what made your heart sing, and that you had to put that down for obvious reasons. But now you're in a place in your life where you are safe. Not playing it safe, but you are safe.
mhm.
You have your own home, you're bringing in an income, you're taking care of yourself. You're more stable than you were a couple years ago. And it's my belief that I don't see you going backwards ever emotionally. I don't see you, having a relapse or putting yourself in harm's way anymore, because I believe that you want better for yourself and you expect
Definitely.
better. Right. So I'm saying all that to say is the homework should be you starting to acknowledge that you love fashion. And not only do you love it, but you could create it,
Mhm.
whatever that looks like. And allowing yourself to be free with that and starting to, if you haven't already, looking into fashion design courses and a school, looking into like if somebody said, hey, here's 100 grand and I want you to create a line. Like what line would that be? What would it be? Would it be jewelry? Would it be belts? Would it be, you know, uh, athletic wear? Would it be a line for transgender people?
Mhm.
That really reflected, um, beautiful personalities and you know um, neutral clothing. I mean, like what would that look like? What would it look like? So I want you to explore. That's your homework. And
Okay.
unfortunately for you, because I'm your auntie, I will follow up. So you can't be like, oh, okay, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I'm gonna
No,
do
I
that because trust and believe. I'm gonna ask you in a couple weeks.
will.
Okay, you've been warned. Okay. The other thing that came through, she said, was um, denial. Okay,
Mm.
and I'm going to get into that in a second. Um, so when I say again the wounds, these are things that you need to now be mindful of as I'm calling them. I'm giving you names to these
Mhm.
wounds that you've been carrying around that maybe you didn't even think about. But we already know self-esteem is one of them. So that's something that you're going to now bring into your consciousness. And you're going to say, okay, Auntie told me that, and I know for a fact that my self-esteem has struggled because of X, Y, and Z. So now I'm going to give myself permission to see myself, experience myself different. I'm going to take the chains off my heart, the limitations from my eyes, and I'm going to be showing up differently. I don't have to play small no more, like mommy said. She said, stop playing small. And she's right. Quit being safe.
Mhm.
She's right. So you're going to start to see things where you didn't see them before because now you have the language. Self-esteem is something I struggle with. It's a wound of mine. So you're going to be start to see circumstances and scenarios and lessons where that's going to show up, and it's going to tug at your heart because that's a wound of yours. And so you're going to be able to say to yourself, oh, okay, this is making me not feel worthy, like I don't feel good enough. And the reason why I'm feeling like this is because I need to heal it. I need to acknowledge that that's not true. I am good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
God says I'm good enough. I'm more than good enough. So you have to talk to yourself whenever you're challenged with this wound, and it's going to keep coming up in different ways, but you have to catch yourself. The other one is denial. And the reason why denial came up is because your mom says you have packed up the past. Even though you're aware of it and you were able to share with me, she says you're denying the past. You're not, you haven't dealt with past fears, disappointments, even the pain and the trauma that came with everything that you described. She says now it's time to face it. She wants you to face it all. And no, it's not going to be easy, but it's necessary. She said, it's time for you to let everything come to the surface. It's time for you to honor your truth and acknowledge yourself and be able to return to the love that is you. So I'm going to stop and you tell me how you feel about the denial thing. She on the money about that?
Absolutely. Um, the 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 now for me, I guess, is my way of having to get over things.
Oh yeah, sure.
Um, I like have had a lot of traumatic experiences in my life, and I've never really had the time
Mhm.
to get over them. And so I
Yes,
guess pretend like my way of getting over it is just pretending that things didn't
sure.
happen,
And that's what we all do.
or me having the experience of something, but allowing someone else to tell me that it didn't happen or it went um, a different way.
Yes.
Um, and so after, like I said, what happened a few years ago, it was like, I had lost everything. I went into treatment. Um, my stepmom passed away, and I
Mm.
think it started to happen in September,
Oh,
everything. And by mm, November, I had a job and I was back to work. Um, and that's all, and that's been a recurrent thing in my life. Um, you know, I just keep on going. I
yeah.
just push it to the back of my mind and pretend it never happened. And me also not wanting to believe that people can be how they are,
Yeah. Yes.
and me being like, why did I deserve this treatment? And
Mhm.
so yeah, that's just kind of me. And I'm always like, I don't have time to unpack things. I have to
Sure.
push it. I have to push it into the closet and worry about it another time.
Yes. Yes. Couple things came up in what you just expressed to me, and I was trying to see in my notes where it was, and I haven't found it yet, but it's okay. One of the things that your mom shared with me with regards to again, you getting back to the place of knowing how you feel and recognizing how you feel and what you say matters. Um, she also mentioned that you also are in denial of what you see, and you just said that. She says that you don't trust the intuition again. People can show you who they are, but you don't believe it. And that's something that she also wants you to work on. She wants you to trust what you see. Period. And that can be difficult for most people with hearts like yours and mine, um, because we don't want to see
No.
what our intuition is telling us about people, how they are showing up. Um, and they're showing us who they are. They're telling us who they are, but we want to believe that people are good and that they would never hurt us. But meanwhile, they do. And your intuition has already told you about this person. And so then the pain is deeper because then you realize that your intuition was right and that you betrayed yourself because you believed, wanted to believe what you wanted to see versus what was. So your mom really wants you to work on a number of things with regards to restoration of your heart and your feelings, trust in your feelings, trust in your intuition, trust in what you see, um, and not discrediting what you see and what you feel. There's two more things. She also says that you struggle with doubt, self doubt. And she gave me an example. She says that you're always looking for answers and signs that you're on the right path. Um, and instead of trusting that you are or not, she says, trust the wisdom. She says, trust God's wisdom and check in with God and ask God, is this right? Is this what you want for me? And allow him to answer. But she says that again, which goes back to the intuition part that you don't trust yourself. And so you're always second guessing. You're always wondering, is this right? Am I on the right track? When she really wants you to go to God. Go to God with everything. Give it to him. Ask for his guidance. Is this what he wants you to do or not? And allow him to give you the answer. The last thing was regarding your emotions, everything that you've been through, painful and traumatically so, you have internalized. You've compartmentalized. It's literally in a chamber of your heart, packed away. You've internalized things. And your mom is saying that it's time to heal. It's time to heal. She wants that for you. So let's take a break because, woo, honey child,
Yeah.
before I introduce you to your mama, how are you feeling?
I feel that I have more insight, and a lot of things make a lot more sense to me as to how I'm showing up in my emotions and the fears um, that I've carried on my shoulders for so long, and it also has helped me to feel more okay with this stage of my life and being in this healing, a cocoon kind of
Yes.
stage. Because
Mm-hmm.
before I felt very like ashamed of myself,
Okay.
to the point where like I didn't want to go outside. I didn't want people to see me. I didn't want to talk to people. I didn't want to go around family. I didn't want to, face people because I had so much like guilt and shame and
Mm.
um, just in feeling embarrassed.
Yes.
Um, And so, but now I feel more comfortable knowing that this is a healing
Yes.
chapter of my life.
Yes, it is. It definitely is. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Um, I was about to ask you something and it escaped my head that quick, but oh, I know what it was. Are you right now in traditional therapy?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So, and can you tell me how often you go and how long have you been going?
Oh gosh, I used to go every week. I
Okay.
haven't been now, I would say maybe 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
Um, I kind of took a break from therapy because it was just a lot to unpack.
Okay.
Um, and I also felt like I really wasn't getting the level of care um, that I needed because it was a lot,
Yeah.
to unload. And I get it as a therapist, it can be heavy for the therapist to process, and also me kind of talking to a person and me getting the sense of the person doesn't really believe or validate the things that I'm saying to be true.
And you did you feel that? Did you feel like the person, your therapist didn't
Yeah,
get you, didn't
coming out of the mental health treatment and talking to my therapist, and when I was telling her about my career and some of the things that I had accomplished, she didn't take it to be true, and so we had a therapy session, and she told me that she went on like Google and typed in my name, and she was like basically, oh, like you are who you say you are. Uh, and so things like that.
yeah,
But I am
yeah.
striving to get back
Yeah.
into traditional therapy.
Well, I hope not. I hope you don't. I hope you
Yeah,
don't return. I hope that you end up working with me. That's my prayer. Um, and not for selfish reasons, but because I know that I can help you. I know that the God would allow me to do that. Um,
absolutely.
and it's definitely going to take less time than what you've been doing. Um, the longest I work with anybody is 6 months,
Hmm.
but that's a whole different conversation. But I just needed to know if you were in any form of traditional therapy. So now that I know that, okay, great. Is there anything else that you want to discuss before I go into your mom?
Oh no, I'm good.
Okay, okay, great. So let's get into Miss Ellen, just so you have a better sense of her personality and her struggles because they came in loud and clear. One of the things I think that you're really going to adore and you're going to be like so surprised because I was that she shared with me. And I think that you'll probably never see sunflowers the same, the
Mhm.
flowers, sunflowers. She shared with me that she loves sunflowers.
Oh,
And that warmed my heart. I said, I was really touched when she shared that with me because I could see you literally being able to just like go to the store, to the florist and buying a bunch of sunflowers and having them somewhere in your home and thinking of her. And I believe that's why she told me. I've never had anybody tell me what kind of flower they liked before, but I told you her personality is so upbeat and just so fun nature that I wasn't surprised at the same time. So she loves sunflowers. She wanted you to know that. She also wanted you to know that despite her actions, um, she's always had a deep connection with God, spirit. She's a very strong willed person, very strong, very resilient. She had a lot of pride, similar to you. She had a lot of self-pride. She believed in herself. She says, even when nobody else did. So I think that's really important for you to actually take with you as you do your homework about fashion design. She says she believed in herself even when nobody else did. I get a sense of very, very strong. I felt her dignity, regardless. I felt dignity with her. She was a very, very dominant, had a very dominant force about her. Like she wasn't a weak woman, is what I'm trying to say. Very strong and dominant. Um, like I said, fun, very fun loving, just really joyous. Um, she'd be a fun person to hang out with. Now I want to tell you a little bit about her backstory as far as the wounds that she was dealing with while she was here. And I don't know if you know this or maybe you can explore it. You don't have to. But I got this sense that your mom was dealing with something extremely painful that happened to her. Um, she made me aware of a very deep heartache, a loss. Um, and what came to my spirit felt like it was an unexpected death. So I don't know when I feel when I feel this heartache, this loss, this unexpected. I said death. She didn't say death. She said heartache, loss. Now, that I'm telling you this, something else is coming through, but I want to hear from you first. Do you know of
Um,
any type of heartache, loss, unexpected?
eh,
It's okay. It's okay. Catch your
um,
breath.
I have had two smaller siblings that passed away very early. Maybe I think they were still infants, and
Were
maybe
they
I was about,
twins?
yes, and that was something that I know that she always had wanted twins, and that she was like, these last kids I'm not having anymore, so I need to have twins, and they unfortunately passed away, and after that, I just think she was never really. She
She was.
had gotten clean because she was pregnant, and she was had got a house and all the things, and then that happened. I just don't think she ever was able to. I don't think she ever was able to get over that, and so I think that was a lot. And I remember at 14 years old, I had ran away from home, and I always had a really good sense of direction. So um I went back to the house that I had last saw her, and she wasn't there. And the neighbor was like, she don't live here anymore. And that was the last time that I had knew where she was or knew how she was up into her getting sick and going into the hospital.
Well, at least I gave everybody fair warning that I can't talk and cry. So just give me a second. So you, in retrospect, just thinking about your twin siblings, that has to be something that you have been holding on to for quite a while.
Mhm. Yeah, it's like I mentioned, it's something that I don't talk about. My other siblings don't talk about it. No one in my family um really talks about it, and I don't know whether it's because they passed so young
Yes.
um that it doesn't feel like tangible and
Yes.
real.
Yes.
But I know to my mom it was really
Oh, devastating.
it was it was devastating. I think that was like the straw that broke the camel's back, and she never
It
really
was.
was able to to
Recover.
overcome that.
That's right. You're exactly right. I don't want to necessarily stay there, but I did want to find out how young do you believe they were?
I would say maybe 8 months.
Okay. Yeah. And see, to have babies um, pass away after having them for 8 months would make it even more tragic,
Mhm,
for sure. I had a sister by the name of Deborah who I never met because she died when she was a baby. She was a newborn and she was only a few months old. Um, she would have been my mother's daughter, number three. I'm
mhm,
number seven. So I never met her, but I knew of her. We kept her
mhm,
memory alive. Um, and whenever my mom would talk about Deborah, um, we all would be weeping because we felt like we knew her because my mother
that's
made
it.
sure
That's
that
what
we
it was.
knew. Um, and now that of course I'm a mature woman and I only have one child,
Mhm,
I can't even fathom, I can't imagine, I don't want to ever, um, I never want to have that knowing.
mhm,
Yeah. So I can only imagine. And so your mom shared that with me in a little bit more. So we'll get into that now. So it makes perfect sense that she lost her babies. She tells me it's something she lost something precious to her and that she never got over it and that she wallowed in it until her life ended. She
mhm,
blames herself. She said she felt liable for it. She felt responsible for what happened. Um, she didn't feel like she had the power inside herself to even break free from the guilt and the
mhm,
shame came with that. From that point on, she felt like she was in survival mode. She felt like just couldn't she just couldn't really live even though she was living. She
yeah.
struggled, she told me, with money, with her
Mhm,
home life, with her health,
mhm,
her body. She said everything suffered because of that. She didn't feel safe. She suffered with safety, feeling safe and shelter.
mhm,
She mentioned you with this, which I thought was beautiful. As she shared different things, she was able to relate some things back to you that she wanted you to be more consciously aware of in your life. She said because of her inability to provide you safety and shelter, that she wants you to be very mindful of creating a space of stability and a strong foundation for yourself, for your life, so that you don't have to rely on anybody else for that. Build your own stability. She also told me that she struggled with her willpower, not really just having a strong willpower. Um, And I believe that she wanted to give up her addiction, but couldn't. She just didn't have the will. So she struggled with that. And so she's bringing that up. She also struggled herself with self esteem, and she related that back to you. That's something she wants you to work on, is healing your self esteem, your self worth, your value, knowing that you are valuable, because she struggled with it too.
Mm.
She also, just like you, internalized her feelings. She didn't process her feelings. She didn't heal her feelings, her pain, her trauma. And she says she wants you to work on yours. She doesn't want you to be like her in that regard. She also told me she struggled just with failure in
Mm.
general. She just failed. She said she always felt like she couldn't accomplish things that she wanted to. She,
Mm.
again, going back to her willpower, not having it really intact.
Mm.
Um, she struggled with failure, and she also, just like you, judged herself harshly for
Yeah.
not being able to meet her goals that she wanted.
Hey, 1 second. There.
So she judged herself harshly as well.
Mm.
And you have that as well. She also mentioned that you all are similar in um, being alone, wanting to be alone, but she stressed that there was a difference. Okay. She said to tell you the difference between loneliness and being alone and being lonely. She says that she felt lonely, like a loneliness, a sense of not being connected. Even when she was around people, she felt like she was alone. Um, she wants you to know the difference between being lonely and being alone.
Mm.
Okay. She says that she felt afflicted when she was left by herself. That is when all of the pain, all of the trauma, all of her wounds came into play for her, was because she felt a sense of loneliness. So she wanted me to point out to you that it's good that you can be alone by yourself, but that she wanted you to know the difference between the two. Okay. So before I move on to the final phase of this reading, just based off of what I shared about your mom and how she felt about herself, how she lived her life, how she engaged with herself emotionally through the eyes of heartache and loss
Mm.
of her of her babies, the grief that she carried, the blame that she carried, um, the fact that it forced her to be in survival mode all the time, that she didn't feel stable, she didn't feel safe, she didn't have the willpower to change her life and do better. She suffered with self esteem. She internalized her emotions and didn't allow herself to go there. She felt like she was a failure and she judged herself for it harshly. And lastly, that she felt a sense of loneliness even when she was surrounded by others. Why don't we stop there?
Yeah, that knowing the bits of information that I do know about my mom and her life, that rings 100% true. I remember so many times she had promised us that, she would get clean and that she would stop, you know, using, and she would be, clean for a while, and she would get a house. Um, and we would go over there, but then she would meet a guy, and then, she would disappear um, for months at a time, and then someone from the family had to go find her, and um, and clean her up. And so I knew at a young age that it was I always had a sense from my mom that she was just trying to make it to like the next day.
Yes. That's where that survival mode came in.
Yeah, like I always felt like she was just trying to make it to the next day, or she only had enough for that day.
Mhm.
Um, and so I think her suffering from addiction and having a lack of willpower,
Yes.
it makes sense, and it definitely it makes me not judge her as much, or help me
Yes.
to
Yes.
or help the kid version of myself understand the things that she the struggles that she had to face. Because for me, it was like, why isn't she
Yes.
showing up? Or why don't I have her number? Or why
Yes.
all those things. But to feel like you always have this sense of failure and not being able to provide um or show up for your kids. And I remember she would always like come and see me and bring me like small even she would always bring me like small gifts, like
Mhm.
a bag of chips or like a hot smoothie
Yeah.
cup or
Yes.
um, just small gifts. And she would always say, "Oh, like it's not much for
Oh,
today."
but
But
it
she
meant the
was,
world to you.
yeah. But she was, yeah. It meant um, it was enough for me.
Yeah.
Um, but I knew for her that was a lot. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. But she thought about you.
Mhm.
She thought about you. So she did what she could. She bought you a gift. She wanted you to know that she thought about you, regardless of what it was. And you know, it was like a bag of chips to you was like, look what my mom gave me. Look at what my mom gave you. You didn't even care. You was like, look, my mom bought me a bag of chips, and you was on top of the world for sure. Understandable, understandable for sure. Um, and not only that, but she showed up for you here
Yeah.
in this process. She didn't hesitate.
Mhm.
She didn't hesitate, and she's been witnessing you. I mean, you can tell that with the level of detail that she shared with me. I mean, she ain't look. She didn't Google you. She knows. She's been watching over you, witnessing. So know that, know that. She may not have been with you your entire childhood, but she's been with you now.
Mhm.
That's evident in what she has shared, and not only what she has shared, but the level of love, the level of wishes that she has for you, what she wants you to do differently that are similar in nature that you all have. She wants better for you. And that's what any mother would want for her child is better. And knowing that you have the will and the willpower and the commitment and dedication to yourself that you will work on this. So yeah. So we're almost concluding your excuse me, your reading here. um, there is another portion of it, but I'm going to actually do that off camera with you. So, now that you've pretty much had your reading,
Mhm.
um, can you just kind of share briefly um, what this experience has been like for you?
It's been a very eye-opening experience and a lot to unpack. But I think
Yes.
it's helped me to get a sense of who my mom was and some of the things that she had to struggle with and overcome, and then also being in my family and not having a person that I closely identify with or that I see myself in, and constantly looking for that person and not
Mm,
knowing that, you know, that person was really my mom. And so now I do feel more connected to her and connected to myself because, you know, we share a lot of
mm,
similarities with our fears and obstacles that we've had to face. And so it's, you know, I feel a lot closer to her and I understand her more and myself. And it's surprising that you can have such a deep connection to someone that you really don't know in the sense of what we define as knowing someone.
yes. Yes. Oh, well, that's good. Good then. I'm glad that this experience has been one of enlightenment
Mhm.
and validation and confirmation for you, which
Definitely.
is what the soul readings are created for. Um, you know, I don't take them lightly at all. I am just the vessel that God uses. Um, so I'm very honored to have been able to um, share what came through with you.
Thank you.
You're so welcome, and I'm just really really looking forward to um, what happens in the next few months for you.
Mhm.
What your healing journey now looks like now that you are literally armed with this um, highly critical information that was missing. And now, what will you do with it now that you have it? How will you allow it to help you to navigate moving forward?
Absolutely.
So, we'll be checking in with you in a few months to see where you are with things. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm like I said, thank you so much for allowing me the honor to read your soul. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.